Okay, on to the last passage of this test. Neuroaesthetics, you probably don't know what that means, don't worry. I think it's worth remembering this prefix means something to do with the brain. Right, so what have we got? Multiple choice, quite normal for reading 3, and a summary, but it's a summary with a box, a bit more difficult. Yes, no, not given, and one of these overall multiple choices. So let's start with, of course, the summary. And the first thing you're going to do, find where it comes from. What can we scan for? We can scan for that. It's worth just reading this. The discipline, this means the subject of neuroaesthetics, aims to do all of this. This is very introductory, so I would expect to see something like this in the first paragraph. It's describing, introducing, defining what neuroaesthetics is. But you can also try and find that. Then, of course, we're going to find that. Now remember, this is reading 3, so expect them to try and make it a bit more difficult. If it's reading 1, you see this whole thing is 1 paragraph. Okay, it's probably going to be 1 paragraph. But it's reading 3, so it's not necessarily going to be just from 1 paragraph. Anyway, if you scan and find those 2 things, you will see that in fact it is from 2 paragraphs, and not even 2 paragraphs near to each other, 2 paragraphs quite far from each other. So let's do this one first. What are we looking for? Let's look at our grammar first. These are all nouns, so let's do plural, single, countable, uncountable. This can be anything. On our could be any kind of noun, doesn't help us, but I see 2 things that really help us a lot. Can you see them? If you can't see them, pause the video and take a look. This verb has got an S over there. That means this is either countable singular or uncountable. This verb has no S. That means this is countable plural. So we'll get to those later. But please, you've got to notice those. Always check the grammar. Sometimes it doesn't help you, but sometimes it does help you. And we need all the help we can get. So let's get this one out of the way first. The studies of the brain demonstrate the impact, the effect which these paintings have on our something. Who is our? Our is all people. So there's the paintings, and there's the for example. So I thought initially I thought it was that, but there's nothing like that over there, so we need to keep on looking. The impact which the paintings have on our something. And there is our helping word. So the paintings have an effect on the amygdala, but the amygdala is important in our feelings. So can we find anything about feelings? And yes, there it is over there. Again, please don't write emotions on your answer sheet. You must write C. Right, that wasn't so bad. This helping word gave us the clue there. So this woman believes artists give their work the precise degree of which appeals. So we want a single or uncountable. It can be that, it can be that, or that. So it's one of those 5, because those are the singles and uncountables. I'm looking for precise degree of. Many artists use a key level of, precise degree of, key level of detail to please the brain. So the artists give that's use the key level of detail. I'm quite happy with that. So can you find anything here that is a synonym for detail? It's one of those 5. No, no, yes, no, no. So definitely B, detail and complexity. She also observes, this is often an important word you must notice. That's moving on to the next point. That pleasing works of art often contain certain repeated And this can only be, we've used emotion, so it can be repeated images or repeated movements because of that verb. Images or movements. What's more, there's the also, and there's the repeated motifs. But now we have a problem. We don't know what motifs are. Fractals. This should probably be inverted commas. Remember, this structure is introducing a new word and its definition, as we've seen many times. It's very important. So fractals are repeated motifs. Fractals are common in nature. So I saw something about nature, the natural world, in the shapes of mountain peaks or branches of trees. So are we talking about images or are we talking about movements? Shapes is about images. So you had to basically choose between one of these two because you knew that it was an S because of that verb, and you need to guess what motifs are. Are they images or are they movements? But then they talked a bit about the shapes of the mountains, so a good guess would be that motifs are images, not movements. I think they tried to trick us a little bit there, because motifs reminds me of the word motion, which is movement, but it's not that. H. Right. True. Yes, no, not given. Right, so first we just need to find where all of these come from. One thing that's worth mentioning is there's nothing nice about multiple choice, but except one thing. There is something that multiple choice can help you with, and that's that they often tell you where the multiple choice comes from. And then that can help you find other question types very often. So this is the second to the fifth paragraph. That's all the way 1, 2, 3. It's all the way up to there. The summary was over here, so it's most likely that the yes, no, not given is going to be these two over here. But in any case, there were some nice things to scan for here, so it wasn't too difficult to find them. There was this woman who we've already encountered in the summary, and then there was some inverted commas over here, which often are easy to see as well. So there was that woman, and then here is the mirror neuron. So we know that we're in these three. All right, now let's do the circle words, bearing in mind that this is reading 3, and sometimes it's not going to be as clear as in reading 1 what IELTS's target language is. But pause the video if you want to, but I'm going to just quickly circle the words that I think IELTS will target. Alright, so those are the ones that I can see. In these two I didn't see anything. Sometimes it's not clear. Very often in those cases it's just about the verb. It's like, did it happen or did it not happen? Did the findings contradict previous beliefs or not? And in this one, do they require further verification or not? So yeah, as I said, this is reading 3. It's this system works better with the easier readings. Right, so we know where this is. We need to see if these findings contradicted the previous beliefs. Contradicted means said against, said something opposite. So if the previous belief said one thing, then these findings said something against that. So here they introduce the fractals. And the thing is, there is nothing here about previous beliefs. There's nothing about contradicting either. Her findings are there, her results, and I don't see any of it, so it's probably not given. I don't see anything about this fractals in relation to previous beliefs. And I think I've said a couple of times before, they love to start with a not given. Of course, not always, but I think they do it quite often because they know that it's going to confuse you and make you waste time. Anyway, so it's probably not given, but I'll come back to it. Certain ideas regarding the link, the connection between mirror neurons and art require further verification. Do they require further verification or not? Further verification means further research. So here is the sentence where they introduce mirror neurons. The link between mirror neurons and art appreciation. Now, I don't see anything about link. They don't need to put link in there. Even if you talk about it in the same paragraph, it just means it's connected. They don't need to say the word connected. The interesting thing here is this. It will need to be thoroughly tested. And it will require further verification. Need to be maybe further. Tested is verification. Please note however, introduces important information again. So notice that they were not testing this. This was all just scanning language. You could just accept that was there. It's very vague language. Certain ideas. What does certain ideas mean? It can mean any ideas. And this was what they were testing. Do they need further verification, further testing? So that one, I feel quite confident, is yes. Right, those two weren't easy. You see, they start with the difficult ones. Now, people's taste in paintings depends entirely, this means completely, 100%, on the artistic trends of the period. Maybe taste, trends, period, current. There's currently. This is trends. There's trends again. So we're here. Fashions of the time might shape, or this means influence or affect what is currently popular. The works that are best adapted to our visual system may be most likely to, this means to stay, once the trends are gone. So it means that some works stay popular even when the trend is gone. This is the popular, people's taste in paintings, and this says it only depends on the current trend. That means when the trend is gone, then the painting is not popular anymore, if it's 100% dependent on the trend. But this is saying that some of these works are popular even when the trend is gone. That means they are not 100% dependent on the trend. So it's not entirely. It's definitely no. Right, this one I struggled with. I wasn't sure about this. Should they define rules or should they not? Sometimes with the true, false, not given, yes, no, not given, they can test a modal verb. They like to do the difference between might and must, for example. Here they're testing should they or should they not. Define the rules, which govern here means control people's reactions. So can you see the rules? And that's it over there, a set of scientific laws, the precise rules. Should they define it or should they not define it? Again, however, gives us important information. And they say it would be foolish. This is to define it, to bring it down to the rules. It would be foolish to do it. That means they should not do it. So there was no modal verb here. There was a modal verb there, but it doesn't matter. This is the key word. It would be stupid to do this. So they should not do it. So again, no. Then again, testing a modal verb, but I think this is more important. The always. Art appreciation should always taking into consideration the cultural context. Should we always take the cultural context into consideration? Cultural context. So where is cultural context? It's this. Probably just this. Now this one actually confused me a lot. I think if I did this in the real test, I would have gotten this wrong. Because it doesn't say anything about always, but it doesn't say anything about never. IELTS says the answer is yes. And the always is here. Always is actually in there. We should not underestimate. It means we should recognize. And they don't say anything about sometimes, so that means it's always. We should not underestimate is the same as saying we should never underestimate, which is the same as saying we should always recognize. So very difficult. Like I say, many native speakers will get that wrong because always is inside here. Actually, it's a double negative. It's never, we should never underestimate. We should always recognize. Wow, really tough. Confusing. Then this one I thought was going to be nice. It's easier to find in science than in art. There's our scanning word. So we need something about science and art. So there is our meaning. Oh, and they've made it tricky because they're saying science is not different. So what's the opposite of not different? The same or similar. But here they're talking about easier or more difficult. And those are two completely different things. They don't actually say anything here about easy or difficult. They only say different and similar. So that means that must be not given. There's nothing there about easy and difficult. So we don't know if it's easier. We just say we know it's similar, which are different things. So not given. Right, then at this stage, there's 6 here. That means they're going to do 2, 2, 2. I've got 2 no's. I was quite sure that this was a not given. We can go back and look, but I didn't see anything about the contradiction. And I was quite happy about that being yes. So that's 2, 2, 2. 2 not given, 2 no's and 2 yeses. But wow, really, really confusing. And I'm sure even native speakers, many native speakers will probably not get 6 out of 6 for this. But this test isn't finished with us yet. We still have more fun to come, which is multiple choice. Okay, on to the multiple choice. I'm going to go through them quite quickly. I don't tend to spend too much time teaching this because it's really high-level stuff, Band 8, Band 9 stuff. Don't be afraid to guess. Don't allow the multiple choice to eat your time. One of these can take you 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and you can use that time better somewhere else. So I'll just show you where the answers are, point out a couple of things to look for. You must focus on this. This is really the most important part of the question. So really, you must know what you're looking for. They often do this. Why does he mention something? Why did he mention? In order to do what? So we find shape matching test, and it's over here, a shape matching test. Why does he do it? To show that people choose a wrong answer if they see others doing the same. So that was the key language. That's why he's using this example of the shape matching test to make that point. So the answer was there. If they see other people doing the same, we are influenced by opinions of others. It can get really confusing. So really the key to multiple choice, if you're up at that level, is to be able to identify the important information in the paragraph. There is no easy way of doing these. Right, her findings indicate that people. Now one thing to notice here, because this can help you in future readings, is that we're talking about her findings, we're talking about her results. All of this is the experiment. She's describing the experiment all the way up to there. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the results, the findings, and this language introduces the findings. It seems that, it appears that. So here is our answer. The viewer can sense the artist's vision in painting even if they can't explain why. And that is over there. Right? This is the same thing. We're looking at what does the results suggest. Indicate, suggest, same thing. So we need to go and find the results, the interpretation of his experiment. Again, you can ignore all of that. That's just the description of the experiment, and it's exactly the same, similar language. It seems that, it would seem that. That's the interpretation of the results. So here is where our answer will be. The harder it is to, don't worry, the more rewarding is when you recognize it. And it's that one over there, satisfying and rewarding. This is also rewarding, but they don't say it's not about not understanding it. It's satisfying to work out. It all rested on this word, which you probably don't know. It means to work it out, to take a problem and solve it, a puzzle and solve it. So this is exactly the point I'm trying to make. This is band 8, band 9 word. You needed this word to answer that question. If you don't know the word, then you must just guess. And then the last one, what do the experiments suggest about the paintings of Mondrian? Now, I would have gone over there, but that's still the experiment. That's not the interpretation of the results of the experiment. This is all the description of the experiment. This is actually, they do it before. They interpret the experiment before, and then they describe why they say that. Very difficult, but we're looking at that. Deceptively simple. Deceptive means it tricks you. It looks simple, but it's actually not. That's what the deceptive means. And that's our answer. Carefully put together is meticulously composed. Our but over there introduced important information again. So they look simple, but actually they are carefully put together. Meticulously composed means carefully put together. So yeah, you either knew those words or you didn't. All right. Then the final one. These usually can be quite easy, but this one is very difficult. I think the way to approach this would have been to try and delete the incorrect ones. So we're not focusing on the activity of the artists. To get this 1 mark, you kind of have to read the whole passage. It's a really lot of work just for 1 mark, so don't be afraid to guess on this one especially. They weren't comparing those two things. We weren't changing public opinion. It was just about this one, how the brain responds to art. But really, like I said, to get 1 mark, you had to do a lot of reading. Is it worth it? Maybe you could take that time and go and get 2 marks somewhere else. All right, that was an incredibly difficult reading. Don't get too discouraged by it.